Hi, I'm Dr. Audai and welcome to IELTS Speaking and Writing with Dr. Audai from speakenglishwithdradai.com. In today's lesson, I'm going to give you key tips for the IELTS Speaking Part 2 to ensure that you have a solid start to your speaking test. Speaking Part 2 lasts between 1 to 2 minutes. There is only one question with the prompts or bullet points that you can speak about when you are given the question. In this part of the question, you will be asked about familiar topics. For example, describe a book that you have read recently. You should say what kind of book it is, what it is about, what sort of people would enjoy it. The types of questions would be very familiar to you, so don't worry about the topics. However, it would help you if you get ready to get a high score on this question. Are you excited? Let's get started. Tip number 1. Pay attention to the tense. This is a very important point because it can be different from part 1 and part 3, where in those parts you might use the present or the future. So back to the question, describe a book you have read recently. Here, the action, which is reading the book, is close to the present time. So you might think of something that you finished reading this morning, last night, last week, or 2 weeks ago. But of course, not a book you finished reading last year. So try to use the past tense and be consistent when you shuffle between the tenses. So it's not only the past tense you are going to use, you can also use the present. Look at this example. The book which I read was about getting things done for David Allen. It's a wonderful book that gives a guide on keeping a balance between your personal and professional life. Here, I use the past tense, which is the book I read was about, and the present tense, which is it is a wonderful book that gives a guide of how you can keep a balance. Tip number 2. Pay attention to your pronunciation and intonation. Try not to overpronounce when you speak. You don't need to speak with an accent, but you need to be clear. So for example, you can say, I usually go to the city center over the weekend. This is clear. Don't try to make it like this. I usually go to the CSA over the weekend. The examiner won't give you a high score if you try to speak with an accent, but of course, you'll be demarked if your pronunciation is not correct. Another thing is your intonation. Intonation is the way your voice rises or falls when you speak. Back to the question, describe a book you have read recently. You can say, the book which I really enjoyed reading is called Getting Things Done for David Allen. It's about a balance between your personal and professional life. What I liked in the book was the tips given with practical steps. Tip number 3. Use your own words as far as possible. A lot of students might copy words from their cards. This is not going to give you a score of 7 and above. You need to use your own language and paraphrase what's written in your card. So back to the question about describe a book you read recently or you've read recently. There is a book which I read 2 weeks ago about getting things done for David Allen. So this is one way you paraphrase the information on the card. In other words, you can say, so I'd like to talk about the book which I read 2 days ago. Tip number 4. Try to expand your answer. The assessment criteria for this question is to assess how you can speak fluently and accurately. Fluency means how much you speak at length. So you can speak for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or even 2 minutes. So for example, when you talk about the book you read, you can use these phrases. This book was recommended to me by one of my friends. It's one of the top 100 best-selling books in 2021. There is a space for reflection and feedback. Alright, let's put this into context. The book which I read 2 weeks ago was about getting things done for David Allen. It was recommended to me by a friend as it's one of the top 100 best-selling books in 2021. While reading it, I was feeling there was a space for reflection and feedback. Tip number 5. Practice. Yes, it would help you if you do a lot of practice before you sit for the exam. First, look at questions of part 2 and try to record yourself. Then listen again and check if you could speak at some length. use informal expressions or idioms, and pronounce well. Make sure that also you keep your intonation in the conversation. Do this exercise twice or 3 times until you are more confident. That's all for today. Don't forget to watch other lessons and subscribe to the channel here. See you in other videos in IELTS speaking and writing with Dr. Audai from speakenglishwithdradai.com. Bye bye.